Now, a U.S. Navy destroyer firing Tomahawk missiles at 3 radar sites in Yemen. The strikes were in retaliation, the Pentagon says, for 2 instances this week in which Houthi rebels in Yemen fired missiles at American warships in international waters. The missiles, thankfully, did not hit the USS Mason, and there were no reported injuries, but the Pentagon has vowed to defend itself against any threat. The U.S. government has been providing arms and intelligence to the Saudis, who are deeply involved in this civil war in Yemen. Let's get right to CNN's Barbara Starr at the Pentagon. And Barbara, these Houthi rebels, they're backed by Iran. Does this mean that the U.S. is now even more enmeshed in this proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran?
Well, Jake, the Pentagon for now says no, that it is not getting more deeply involved. But if there are more attacks, you can bet that answer is going to change. So far, no response from Houthi rebels after the U.S. Navy fired missiles at radar sites used by the Iranian-backed forces. Those same sites targeted U.S. Navy warships twice in 4 days.
Those who might threaten U.S. forces should recognize that we will not tolerate threats to our people. We will respond if our forces come under fire.
The U.S. is not saying if there is intelligence showing direct Iranian involvement in the attempted attacks. Tehran announced its own deployment of warships to the region. The Pentagon making clear it's ready for more action.
Should we see a repeat, we will be prepared to take appropriate action again at the appropriate time.
If there is further provocation, U.S. officials say the next round of potential targets could include rebel missile sites and small boats serving as spotters. This time, officials think the Yemeni missiles were fairly old, but had been outfitted with highly lethal warheads, the kind al-Qaeda and Iran know how to make.
It'd be a very serious charge if the Iranians were in any way complicit in conducting the attacks against the U.S. destroyer.
The first rebel strikes came Sunday, and then another attempted missile attack on Wednesday. In both attacks, the USS Mason fired defensive weapons. The U.S. ships were not struck, and there were no injuries. But the Pentagon wanted to take out the onshore sites used to target the Navy. Drones flew overhead to verify locations, and the destroyer USS Nitza fired Tomahawk missiles from the Red Sea into 3 remote areas in Yemen where the coastal radars had been used to threaten the Mason and other nearby ships. After the Nitza strike, drones returned to ensure the radars were destroyed. And those Iranian-backed rebels known as the Houthis are denying they had anything to do with the strikes against the U.S. Navy.
All right, Barbara Starr, thank you so much.